Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter. Hey, this is, of course, the podcast where we talk with advocates and members of the disability community to educate and inspire better conversation about disability. Hey, my name is Rob Minot, and joining me today, Mr. Ryan Fleury.
I'm an optimist.
Okay, are you playing the role of an optimist today? What happened? You take an edible again?
No.
What's going on over there?
No, life is grand. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. Well, you have to get the story behind that. His team must have been doing very well over the past
No,
week.
I don't have a team no more.
Hockey pool. Oh, really?
No.
Is that a whole thing? Well, we might have to get an update from somebody to see how I want to know how I'm doing. So.
Of course you do.
Hey, look who else it is. It's Miss Malone.
I'm a super duper optimist.
Super
Wow,
trooper.
Optimist.
What is, I don't know what's going on, what's in the water today, but
Okay,
okay.
you know what? Ryan and I found music together before we started. So you see, we got this little happy, funky thing going on
Yeah,
now.
we got our groove going.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. Obviously, you guys need to log on way before the show so you can vent all your frustrations, have a little song, and
Get
be
down and boogie.
Yeah. Go, Ryan.
That's a different show, Liz.
Wow. I don't even know how to follow that up. Well, that's excellent. Well, I'm not going to ask how you guys are doing because clearly you're doing fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
go.
better than me. I got diagnosed with a gallstone today, so
Yeah, but just one. So
yeah. Well, that's true.
Oh God, Rob, he's such a big baby.
Listen. I'm not. I'm taking it all in stride. It's gallstone. It's not a big deal. You don't even need a gallbladder apparently, which I don't know. I'm a little suspicious of. That seems suspicious to me.
well, you're already talking about changing your diet. So you're taking it pretty seriously.
Well, yeah, for sure. So.
Well, why don't you just have them suck the little, what out? Suck the little bugger out, and then you won't have any more gallstones, and then you can go back to eating your shit.
Well, that's what I thought. But apparently, I don't know. I've been doing research. Apparently, no. They just the way they fix it is they just take the whole thing out. I don't
Yeah, they
think.
just suck it out.
No, that's a kidney. I think you're thinking of a kidney stone,
Oh,
which is
no.
different. Which I'm also very thankful.
No. They take out the whole gallbladder. They kind of make a little incision. They suck it right out, and it's I mean,
Oh, the gallbladder they do. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
They can't take out the stone and leave the gallbladder. I guess that's what I'm saying.
They
Right.
just tell them to take the whole thing, and then
It's just spare parts.
use
I
this.
don't. Is it though? Is it really? Do we have spare
Sure,
parts?
people live functional, healthy lives without a
Well-
gallbladder.
All right. Well, okay. Listen, that's apparently what the internet says too. So I guess I'll believe everybody, but I don't know. I still don't want. I still would rather keep all my parts.
Yeah, you've had enough surgery.
Yeah, I know. I had 3 hernias fixed. It's enough. It's enough.
The only thing more useless than a gallbladder is a triple nipple.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, maybe a triple nipple could be interesting. Actually, never mind.
Much
take
better
it
than a
back.
gallbladder.
Yeah, I may want that triple nipple over the gallbladder. Okay, never
Oh,
mind.
you guys are shot out of a cannon today. Okay, well, I think
I
We
can't
should-
even think of a song that has triple nipple in it.
no, exactly. So there you go. That's your next song assignment.
Maybe the
next
song.
project.
That's next year's song.
That's right.
Okay, enough silliness. Let's get on with the show. Hey, Ryan,
Hey, Rob.
what the heck are we doing today?
Today, from the Disability Diaries podcast, we are speaking with host Stephen Vine. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, welcome to the show. Oh no, I'm on your show. Sorry.
That's right.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Let's start out by maybe just giving us a little bit of background about yourself.
I used to be in the hospitality industry for 35 years, and I went to work one day back 9 years ago in July of this coming year. I was talking to a coworker and I had a triple A as I passed out and fell to the ground. And a triple A is an abdominal aortic aneurysm. I was taken immediately to the hospital. I spent 28 days in a coma. I woke up 28 days later. The first question I said after hearing voices was, "Why are the lights out?" I got told very quickly that the lights weren't out, and I realized, wow, I'm blind. What's going on? Put my hand down as I was lying on my bed in the hospital, put my right hand down to my leg area, and my leg did not feel normal. It was just really not feeling good at all. Um, I said, "What's going on with my leg here?" After a couple of minutes of realizing I was blind. And my partner at the time informed me that the doctors wanted to remove my right leg as I had been through numerous operations. I had a 99 to 1 chance of mortality, and I survived. And I processed the fact that they wanted to remove my leg, and then took my right hand and put it on my stomach and said, "What is this bag on my stomach here? What's going on?" And got told that I had an ostomy because my colon was removed and I would no longer be able to use the toilet ever again. And all of this had to be processed in about 12, 15 minutes. And my world was rocked, and it has not been the same since. And I've been on the road to recovery for those last 9 years. And in September of last year, I started posting a podcast, the Disability Diaries, with myself, Stephen Vine, wanting to interview people that are associated to the disabled world. Somehow they are thriving, striving, and thriving in the disabled world somehow, whether they have a disability themselves or they're associated to someone with a disability, whether that's a patient or a brother or a sister or a child or a parent or what have you.
So, tell me a little bit about triple A's because I'm not familiar with it. What are the symptoms of triple A usually, does it really vary just depending on the person?
Well, from what I've learned, there are no symptoms. I had a 99 to 1 percentage of dying because they don't really do anything to prep you for this situation. Your aorta basically forms a bubble throughout the last few years before it eventually explodes.
Wow.
And when it explodes, you bleed internally, you lose consciousness like I did. And a couple of famous people, let's use Albert Einstein. He died from it at the age of 74. Most people, or Gordon Lightfoot had it, but he didn't die from it. He had it on stage, but he lived through it. He was one of the very few people that lived through a AAA.
Really?
You have high blood pressure, which I was diagnosed the year before when I had burnt my hand very badly. Went to the hospital, dealt with the hand quickly. They said when I was on the way out of the hospital, "By the way, your blood pressure is pretty high, Mr. Vine." I did what I always did with my health. I ignored it. And I didn't do anything about my high blood pressure. I didn't think high blood pressure was a big deal because I was ignorant of high blood pressure and ignored it. And it is very bad for you. It is so bad for you, it can cause an aneurysm in some individuals, as it did with me. So I had no symptoms at all, and was at work talking to a fellow employee and passed out as I was talking to him. Woke up 28 days later. What's going on? I'm in the dark.
Wow. Yeah. We here on the podcast, we're always talking about how, the disability community is just, it's this community that you can really enter into at any given moment.
Yeah.
And most people probably will, whether it's temporarily or just through aging or whatever. But wow, like not a lot of people sort of really get thrown into the deep end like you did.
A couple of years after I came to with my consciousness and had to deal with my situation, and they diagnosed me. They said that I had a disorder. Adjustment disorder is what they said, because I had so many changes, because everything was so sudden. I had an amputated leg above the knee. I had the ostomy on my abdomen. My right buttock was removed. I had diabetes too. I had PTSD. I had sleep apnea. I had chronic pain. I didn't just have them then. I still deal with them today, all of these things. And so they diagnosed me with a disorder of an adjustment disorder because I had so many things I was dealing with.
Yeah, and so many things that you're dealing with immediately, like all at the same time. It's a lot to deal with. I mean, I know Ryan has sort of a similar vision related story, right? Right?
Yeah, I was basically driving home about 3 a.m. and fell asleep at the wheel and woke up 3 days later in the hospital. And yeah, lights were out, totally blind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, I'm not. Made me a better person. Yeah. No, it actually gave me direction in my life. It gave me some purpose. And before that, I'd just been wandering aimlessly, not really working full-time jobs, just working from here to here, moving from place to place. And then when I lost my sight, I had a good support network of people around me. And, like most people, like Rob mentioned, there was a grieving process. I was, pissed off. I was sad, depressed. What am I going to do now? I couldn't do what I was doing. How am I going to do A, B, C? And you just, over time, decide it's time to pull up your bootstraps and figure it out.
How long were you angry for?
Probably about a year.
About a year.
Probably a year, yeah.
Hey, did you seek counseling at all?
I didn't seek counseling, but when I'd lost my sight, the CNIB had put me in touch with another guy who lost his sight in an accident at the same age I did, and we were living in the same city. And so, I play guitar, he played guitar, he became a mentor to me, and without that, I may not be here. It was really down to somebody who could meet me at the same place I had already been, or he had already been, and kind of guide me through what he went through and experienced, which was very, very similar to the emotions I was feeling. And, again, having the support of friends around me, and then, of course, the mentor, it just made all the difference in the world. If I would have been on my own and not had the support I did, like I said, I may not be here, and I don't think I'd be the person I was. I'm fairly estranged from my family, so they weren't in the picture either. So, at the end of the day, for me, it was the support network around me that really brought me through it.
I am fully estranged from my family, and I was very angry with everything that had happened to me, including losing friends and my partner after almost 20 years of being together. And I was pretty pissed off at the cards I was dealt with and didn't realize that I really wasn't going to get on with anything in my life until the big A entered. Do you know what the big A is? Acceptance.
Okay.
I had to accept what happened and what was happening and what was going to happen. And acceptance is an interesting process if you haven't gone through that. A lot of truths have to come out, and sometimes the truth hurts.
Absolutely. Were you on your own when you were going through that journey of acceptance, or did you have support around you?
I would say when I started to accept it was when I had lost pretty much everybody, and a person had entered my life that had started helping me build from ground zero.
There's always one. Yeah.
And I had to rebuild from ground zero and build one brick at a time.
Yeah, I can empathize with you, Stephen. Been
Yeah,
there.
but it's all good. It's all good. My hardest disability out of the 8 that I'm dealing with is chronic pain.
Yeah.
Right.
That, and a lot of people, when they hear that, they kind of go, yeah. And it's kind of like, well, it's more than just a yeah. If you've really experienced chronic pain, it's really, really tough. I almost canceled today's conversation with you guys
Yeah.
because my pain is so bad as I'm sitting here speaking with you. And this is what can be tough is you put together structure and agendas in your life, and the chronic pain can take you off your course, right?
That's understandable. And,
Yeah.
we're glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Tying this into the podcast, I think that one of the really important things about podcasts like yours is that it gives other people who are going through similar things, wherever they are in their journey, hopefully it gives them this feeling of community and this feeling of that they're not alone. Because I think that when you are dealing with that, when you're dealing with any sort of a disability, whether you're just entering the community or you're years into your journey, it's important to have that feeling of, yeah, this sucks, but I'm also not the only person that's going through this, or this person, I heard this person's story and they were going through something similar and they pushed through it. And so I think that, the more voices that we have out there for people to engage with and to hear other people's stories, it's so incredibly important.
Well said. Well said. And I have a motto on my podcast, which is if you can do it, do it. And I know that's very simple, but simple for me is effective. And there's a lot of times when I started to recover with this that I could do it, but I chose not to. I chose not to. And now I choose to do it instead of talking myself out of it. Because if you can, then do it. And I think a lot of the people that I've spoken to in my journey, sometimes they talk themselves out of doing something when they really can do it. And I think this is something that, again, sometimes the truth hurts, and you need to, if you can, metaphorically, anyways, look in the mirror and see if there are certain obstacles that you've talked yourself out of, that the only person or the only thing that is stopping you from doing something is really yourself.
And I think many of us deal with that on a daily basis. It's a lot easier to lay in bed and hit the snooze. I don't want to get up just yet. Or it's a lot easier to sit on the couch than decide, I'm going to go for a half-hour walk. It's a lot easier to just do nothing than it is to actually get up and do something.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading your bio, and I see that you were really big into sports as a kid, and later on you were actually a bit of an entrepreneur. You talked about having a business and such. Can you speak a little bit about that? And do you think that those are some of the reasons that maybe helped contribute to your ability to sort of overcome some of these really huge challenges that you had to fight through back in 2017?
Attitude is everything, really. And I learned when I was competing in track and field. I won the national championships as a teenager in Frederick, New Brunswick for the 800 meters. And I'm proud of that. And to be able to say that I was the best in my country at my age at something You know, you don't get that given to you. You have to earn that. And I earned every step of that. And no pun intended, and that was a very difficult thing to do and to rise to that occasion. And yeah, I had to apply that with the restaurant. The restaurant industry is one of the most competitive industries in the world, right? What are there more of than restaurants, And then doing podcasts, I didn't even realize that there was 3.2 million of them. That's a lot of podcasters out there that are trying to get your attention. I think, yeah, all of it I've always looked for excellence. I was working at the Wedgwood Hotel when I had my aneurysm, and go down to the Wedgwood and sit in the restaurant and look at the service there. That's not casual. That's high end.
Yeah.
And that's the environment I was in, because that's what I was striving and thriving in doing in my full able-bodied life. Now I'm trying to apply that in my disabled world with what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think I've been to the Wedgwood for a tea and a scone, and that was pretty much all I could afford.
I know. You're right. And, it was great serving billionaires and people with influence in society. But, as good as that money is, you don't get that given to you either. You've got to earn that, and you've really got to be on the ball, so to speak, and really deliver in that environment. And that's what I like about the podcast too. I like the fact that this has been a very challenging situation. And, I've started this with 4 people, and everybody is part time doing this. No one is putting in a lot of time at all yet, trying to achieve what I want to achieve with my goals for this project. And we'll see what happens and how that changes with time. But I hope I can endure and get to the point of what I want to achieve.
So tell us a little bit then about that, about just what prompted you to start up the podcast? Where did the idea originally come from?
It just basically came from listening to a bunch of other podcasters, and I said to myself, listening to people having conversations or people being interviewed on my podcast. I don't like to really call it an interview. I like to call it a conversation. Yep. And hearing these interviews and saying to myself, I would have asked a better question than that. There's more to get out of that individual with answers, but you need to guide the person, the guest, to the pot of gold. Like, sometimes a person being interviewed needs a little guidance, and you got to feel that out. And I try to do that now with my conversations now. If someone needs some direction, I try to do that in my own invisible way, instead of having a yes sir, no sir interview, so to speak, And when I was hearing different competitors, I'll call them, out there doing that, I knew that I could do something that would maybe be special, quote unquote, if I could apply my vernacular skills, which I had learned through years of being in the hospitality business and talking to different individuals in high-end situations.
So talk to me a little bit about what the goal, sort of the mandate around the show. What are you kind of hoping to accomplish with it?
I'm hoping that individuals that are able-bodied will hear people that have obstacles to overcome, that they have plans and goals themselves to achieve that, and other things maybe in their life that they've decided on. And for able-bodied people to not disregard or dismiss people that may be in the disabled world. Just because you're disabled doesn't mean your voice doesn't count. Maybe it actually counts even more. And if you're able-bodied, to be open-minded to that. And for anybody that is struggling with a disability that hears my podcast, to listen to people that are overcoming their own obstacles in their own way, that they may learn that this may be enough of information to give them the incentive to do so themselves. There's a lot of words of wisdom from experience. So I would like individuals to tell their story, to share their experience and their words of wisdom, to hopefully educate and inspire other individuals.
Do you find, like us, you get a lot out of the show as well?
I get a ton out of the show.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic for me.
And I was actually moved by something that you said, Stephen, earlier when you were talking about your chronic pain. And it sort of made me just think about moments that I've had pain. Now, it's not anything chronic or due to a condition, whether it be, like a long-term injury or post-surgery or things of that nature. And I was just, as you're talking about it, I was sort of having this moment where I was just thinking about, like, when's the last time that I recall, like, really having excruciating pain? And the only thing that got me through it at that time, obviously, aside from the narcotics, is the fact that I knew it would go away. I would heal my way past it. So when you have something that's chronic and you're not going to necessarily heal past it, or it's something that you're dealing with, like one day it'll be fine, next day could be excruciating, you don't know, is something that is extraordinarily challenging to live with. So I agree with you that the whole pain spectrum is so misunderstood by people, because the vast majority of us only experience pain just incidentally.
Yeah.
Yes, with ending in sight.
Really well said, really well said. And you know what's interesting is what gets me through 9 out of my 10 days, and usually it's 10 days in a row all the time. Like this is every single day of my life. I do say what you said a couple minutes ago, and that is it's going to end. And if anybody out there is listening, use that as a pillar if you have to, and lean on it, because I do, and it works for me. Is I do remind myself, this is going to frickin' well stop. It may not be for 6 hours, it might not be for 12 hours, but it is going to stop.
I have to say that, I'm able-bodied myself.
You lucky son of a gun.
Well, listen, I've got a gallstone, so.
Oh, that's tough. I heard a conversation about that earlier. I heard you can just get it removed right out of there like that, and it's gone.
Yeah, apparently that's what they say. They usually rip it right out.
We'll do it on Friday.
I got a butter knife. We can take care of it.
There you go.
And he likes tequila, so.
There we go.
That's right.
Hey, can I come? Can I come?
Yeah, absolutely.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
But I know that for me, and we've been doing this show for about 10 years now. I think we're entering into our 10th year. And incidentally, I will just say, Stephen, when we started this thing, we started with much the same mandate. It was, we wanted to talk to people in the community, and we were like, we'll probably run out of people to talk to in 6 months. And it's 10 years, and we're still, we still find new people to talk to. So, but it is incredibly rewarding. It's so incredible to be able to have the opportunity to hear people's stories, to talk to people, and to get their perspectives. And I've lost count of how many episodes that we've done talking to people where it's just kind of rocked my own world in the sense of giving me a new perspective on things, on how to look at things, or you're learning about somebody else's lived experience with disability. It really is a really incredibly rewarding thing that we do. And it's probably the reason why, we're doing it on a weekly basis for almost 10 years because it is a lot of work, but we absolutely love it. And we've always said in the podcast that in terms of analytics, and because you can go down that rabbit hole, where you're looking at the podcast analytics every week and you're worried about your numbers and you want your numbers to go up. We've kind of sort of moved past that, where we're just like, whatever. If we have 3 people that are listening that are getting something out of the show, it's worth it for us. So
Can I ask a question?
yeah, of course.
How do you, as a group or maybe individualistically, how do you maybe articulate the vernacular movement in the disabled world about not using certain words because you don't want someone being offended?
Right.
Well, I'll just speak as somebody who is on the national board of a blindness organization here in Canada. I think at the end of the day, you're really at some point going to offend somebody, right? Blindness is a spectrum, and who are you to tell me how I want to be identified, right? Am I blind? Am I low vision? Am I partially sighted? So you try to follow the I guess the standards or the acceptable terms. And who decides those acceptable terms? It should be the community with lived experience. But again, just because I identify one way doesn't mean that you will, right? So it's a fine balance.
Yeah, it can be tricky. And, I guess the way that I kind of look at it is that, yeah, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the individual. There are a lot of big issues with it for the disability community. Especially in terms of, everything from the accessibility acts to, disability benefits. There's a lot of things that we should be fighting and advocating for. And I don't know that language
is a priority or should be.
Yeah, should be a priority. I think, getting people out of above the poverty line would be nice, making sure that everybody has enough disability benefits to live.
Being able to vote independently.
Yeah. There's a lot of fights that need to happen, and I don't know that fighting over low vision versus visually impaired is a good use of advocates' time. That's my hot take on it. Because I think that and this is again going back to the idea of the podcast. I think that this is why it's incredibly important. And why we try to feature a lot of podcasters on the show and give them a platform to sort of give their own podcasts a bit of traction is that we need more voices. We need the disability community to get used to speaking up. If you're just sitting in your living room, sitting on the couch, and you're not making your voice heard, none of this is going to change.
I have no more to lose. I've lost a lot. So I want to speak up as much as I can. I'm going to be getting, like some other individuals, an extra $200 a month in July, right? Well, that $200 is 22.22% of what I need to hit poverty.
Yeah.
22.22. We got a ways to go here still. And and we're just talking money. That's just one aspect. So, it's important that I believe I say as much as I can. I went to a function this weekend for accessibility in Coquitlam. And
should have said hi. I was there too.
Oh, were you?
I was, yeah.
And that event was really important to me when I left, about hearing all the different concerns with certain people and ideas with others about accessibility in the community, and that's just one aspect. And I want to get more and more involved in all the different parts of the disabled world. And there's a lot to it. And my journey has just really begun, even though I've been disabled for coming up 9 years in July. There's a long road ahead. But, meeting you people, you're all outstanding individuals with everything that you're saying to me today. And this is what I like about the disabled world is it's full of outstanding individuals that are striving and thriving with what they've been dealt with and are overachieving, quote unquote, in a lot of different areas of their world and doing good. And I'm proud to be around those people, and I'm proud to be around people like you guys.
Thank you. That does mean a lot. And I'm with you. I'm incredibly over the past 10 years, I'm incredibly proud of the people that we've talked to. And it really has transformed the way that I look at the world and the way that I live my life. And, I would not be where I am today without the podcast and without the disability community and all the people in it and all the people that I've met and interacted with. Yeah, it really is a beautiful thing.
I think a lot of people in Stephen Vine's world has noticed a significant difference with me since my podcast has started, because it is what we're talking about, meeting all those different individuals, and it is therapeutic. It's very therapeutic to hear someone else's obstacles that they're overcoming and struggles they're getting through, and being educated and getting tips on how to deal with things and ideas. And yeah, it's a really good situation. So I just thought I'd make that comment if I could.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds cliche, but sometimes just somebody else's perspective and they can just say a sentence that will just resonate with you and just stick with you. Like I remember we had this guy on, he's a fellow that lost his sight and he decided that he was going to do the Appalachian Trail blind. And he worked at it. But he said something in that podcast that really, really just resonated with me for whatever reason. But he said, everybody has their own summit. And that really stuck with me because it's so true. And, often people fall into the trap, especially able-bodied people who become really enamored with the disability community because they enjoy the disability porn aspect of it, right? What an inspiration. Or they get really wowed by, he was blind and he climbed Mount Everest, and he's an incredible human being. And that's not what it's about. What it's about is pushing through your own barriers and doing something that scares the shit out of you.
Yeah,
Or that you've never done before for the first time. And that could be climbing Mount Everest, but it also could be going to the grocery store independently for the first time.
absolutely.
And it's just as important, it's just as impactful, and it's just as brave.
Yes.
And I love that message.
Good word. It's so applicable, brave. And I've said that numerous times on my episodes at the end. I thank the individual for being my guest, and I thank them for being so brave for talking about their story to the world.
Sounds like you're a very passionate advocate for your disability experience. You have a confidence about speaking about it and, almost a vulnerability, an openness, a willingness to share. So that's going to keep coming through on your podcast, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you. You guys, thank you. Thank you for your kind words just there. That's very kind of you to say that. And I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to talk about a few things today in relation to the disabled world that we're in. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And please, let's tell the audience exactly how they can find the podcast, how can they subscribe, and keep up to date with what you're up to.
Well, the only social media I have is Facebook, which you will find me under the Disability Diaries with Stephen Vine.
Yeah.
And please follow and give me a thumbs up and check me out there. And my podcast is available right on my Facebook account, or you can find them at all the major catchers, including Apple and Spotify and Buzzsprout as well. Buzzsprout is very good for
Perfect.
the podcast.
And we'll also be sure to include links to that in our show notes as well. That's the Disability Diaries with Stephen Vine.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Best of luck with the podcast, and please reach out if there's anything we can do to help.
Again, thank you all for your time today and the opportunity. Take care.
Thanks, Stephen. You too.
Thanks, Stephen.
Great to meet you, Stephen.
Wow. Well, that was quite the story.
Yeah, interesting guy, interesting experience, and hopefully this show will speak to somebody out there who's
It will.
trying to relate or find a way through their own situations.
For sure. And on a podcast level, yeah, I am a little jealous because, man, it's a journey. It is. You guys are laughing. I don't know why you're laughing because it really is. I've loved every episode of this podcast.
Oh, I haven't.
Almost everyone, except for that milk one where we just talked about milk and our guest didn't show up. That wasn't really. Learned a lot about milk.
Milk.
It's that almond milk.
Malk.
Whatever. Although I don't know, maybe I should start drinking that. I don't know, maybe that's good for my gallstone.
Be good.
No.
Thanks to this podcast, you learned that there were potato chips made with avocado oil.
That's true, actually, and these look really good.
Yeah.
Well, try them and let us know, Rob.
Oh, the malt vinegar with sea salt. Oh, yum.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully
That'll be all right.
we'll see if my it's probably. You know what? We probably do have these in the grocery store here, and they're just in that section that I walk by all the time.
Yeah, the specialty section.
Yeah, the specialty
Special foods or whatever.
section.
Yeah.
They're probably there. So, they're probably like $9 for a bag of chips.
Oh, probably at least that.
I get them for $5 locally.
Well, we'll see. But honestly, maybe that's a good thing because it keeps you from gorging.
No, you just buy more bags.
And just don't buy food.
Just don't
buy real food. Spend your food budget on chips. Anyways, how are we talking about? Anyways, yeah, no, this is I am excited to follow the podcast and see who he talks to next. And everybody check it out.
Well, and it still surprises me when we have other podcasters on. I look through their feeds and stuff like, oh, we haven't had them.
Yeah.
Like, why haven't I found all these people?
Yeah, 100%.
I've been looking.
Sure. Yep.
So there's a lot of people out there.
Man, there's just there's just so many people out there that we still have to talk to.
There is. Yep. Let's find us some guests.
So so make sure you poach some guests from his show. If you haven't already, I noticed some.
I haven't yet.
Invites in showing up in my inbox. I'm like, I wonder if he poached that person.
No,
not yet.
Not yet. That's gonna about do it for us this week.
No, hey. So, do we want to? Is there, Liz? Is there like any sort of a hockey update? Can I find out how my Edmonton Oilers are doing?
No, there's no update because we haven't completed the round yet.
No.
Your Oilers need to beat Dallas in order for you to
move to the next round.
I see. And so then they're just playing their series or whatever, right?
You basically win if the Oilers make it to the finals.
Sweet.
You won the damn pool.
Well, Artie might win technically, but I don't know. How is Artie doing? Well, I guess we don't know. Okay, never mind. Okay, we won't talk about hockey because I guess there's no updates. I can't. It's so confusing. So is it because that they have to like win the whole? They play a bunch of play what best two out of three or something? Seven?
Best of seven.
Yeah.
Jesus, no wonder it's always hockey season.
Yep.
What do they play up to 7 games for? Can't they just play
best
2 out of
7
3
in round 1? Best of 7.
Well, they only play 4 if the one team wins all 4 of them.
Right.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
No wonder.
Yep.
No wonder hockey season is still August and it's still hockey season.
Well, that's just it, right? They get once the Stanley Cup is over, they get like a month off, and then they hit training camp again.
Go to train.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Or we're in preseason games. Yeah.
Crazy times.
Jeez.
I love it.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe we'll check in. Maybe by next week we'll have an update.
Next
Oh, we
week we're
will.
gonna have
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. There you go. Okay. Well, then I guess that will indeed do it for us this week. Big thanks, of course, to Stephen for joining us, and we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions, as well as physical access solutions and augmentative communication aids across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com, or if you're in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, visit our storefront at number 106 828 West 8th Avenue in Vancouver. That's one block off Broadway at Willow. You can reach us by phone toll-free at 1-844-795-8324 or by email at sales@canastech.com.